What is a Roth conversion, and should you do a Roth conversion? That's what we're going to talk about on the video today. So first, let me start out with just educating you on the idea of a Roth conversion and why it could make sense for you. So when we think about a Roth conversion, let's first think about what is a tax-deferred investment. So a tax-deferred investment is going to be your 401k, your IRA, your 457, 403b. If you're a federal employee, it may be a TSP. If you're a state employee, it might be a deferred comp. Any of these types of investments, you have not paid taxes on yet. So you put $10,000 in up front, and you got a tax savings that day, and you're extremely happy. That's a great thing. But now this $10,000 is worth $100,000, and when you take out that $100,000, you're going to have to force that all to be counted as income, which means you have to pay taxes on it. And so that's how the tax-deferred bucket works. Now, when I think about the tax-deferred bucket, I think of this guy here. Does anyone know who that guy is? It's Uncle Sam, right? So Uncle Sam is going to be your silent partner, is what I call it, for life. We actually had a client come in to see us, and they had $1 million in their 401k. And we said, great job, but I don't know if you're ready for retirement yet. And the reason why is because you don't have $1 million. And they said, well, yeah, we do. Look at the statement, look at the name, look at the amount. We said, you're missing something there. What's he missing? Well, he's missing a name next to his on his statement, and it actually should say jointly owned by Uncle Sam. Because when you go and take out money from that investment one day, how much of that is yours? We have no idea, right? It's whatever tax rates are going to be at that time, but we can expect for probably 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of it is not going to be ours, and it's going to be Uncle Sam's. Here's one thing that really bothers me about this concept. When you go into business with someone, you would never say, hey, I'm going to go into business with you. I'm not going to work hard, but when you sell the business, I'm the one to tell you how much I get. Would you ever go into business with someone like that? Of course not. Because when you sell your business, they'll say, oh, well, now I want 90% instead of my 10% that we were expecting. Well, it's the same thing with Uncle Sam on your retirement dollars. You've worked extremely hard for this money all your life, and you're leaving it up to chance in the future for Uncle Sam to say, you owe me this, or you owe me that. And you have no control how much you're going to have to pay in taxes to Uncle Sam. And so we need to understand that unless we do something about it today, Uncle Sam is going to be there on the future with his hand out, waiting for his tax dollars that we have not paid yet at unknown tax rates in the future. And so we need to be concerned about that. Now, I probably have you convinced that this is the worst way to have your investments, right? And the answer is actually no. It's actually a great place to have your investments. The thing I'm trying to emphasize is it may not be the best place to hold your investments currently. For example, back in the 70s, this was probably a great thing that you did. And I would applaud you if you have this money in this bucket. The problem is that tax rates in the 70s were really high, but now they're low. So the good news is for you, you deferred it. For example, 70% was the highest bracket in the 80s, and then in the 70s and 80s. But now the highest bracket is 37%. So what I'm trying to tell you is, okay, you've done great work, but maybe it's time to cash in. Maybe it's time to pay that 37% bracket now before it goes up in the future, like most would expect. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that now you have an opportunity, hint, hint, Roth conversion, which we're about to talk about, to really get the taxes off the table now so you don't have to worry about them in the future. So that's the idea of the tax-deferred bucket. So now let's talk about the tax-free bucket. So in the tax-free bucket, we're looking at more of your Roth type accounts. We're looking at your Roth IRA, your Roth 401k. These are the types of investments where you've already paid your taxes up front. You did not get a tax deduction when you put that $10,000 in, but when that $10,000 grew to $100,000 and you took it out for income, you pay no tax. No tax on any earnings, no tax on what you've put in. That $100,000 does not count as income. It's tax-free, but now you have $100,000 that you can spend, but you don't have to tell the IRS about it, and you can enjoy that tax-free retirement. So that's the idea with the tax-free. So we often ask people, if you had a magic wand, where do you want all your money? And obviously they say tax-free. Well, here's the disconnect. Here's the issue, is that most people have their money in the tax-deferred bucket. There's over $30 trillion in the tax-deferred bucket. There's less than $1 trillion in the tax-free bucket. And so what that tells us is that most people are overweighted to the tax-deferred, although most people want it in the tax-free. So we often ask, why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. One is Roth IRAs haven't been around forever. They didn't start until 1997, so you haven't had this opportunity forever. Also, a Roth 401k didn't start until 2006, but for administrative reasons, they're still 401k plans without a Roth option. Most do now, but there's still some without it. So you may not have had the option, right? The other consideration is you have to have earned income to contribute to a Roth IRA. And you have to, if you make too much money, you can't contribute. You may be able to do something called a backdoor Roth IRA, but you may not be able to legally contribute to that without any advanced strategies there. And then also just pure education is something else that I always mention of why people don't have as much in tax-free. They just don't know about it. And so I understand why you don't have as much money in tax-free, but I want to point out that we can't let those excuses stop us from getting more into tax-free, because here's the point. I agree with all the points you made, but you're missing a strategy that we can do right now to get more into tax-free. And this is actually a strategy we could have been doing since 2010. So if you're the victim, as I call them, that says, well, I don't have any money in tax-free because I couldn't fund a Roth. Well, you could. There's strategies you could probably do right now to get more money over there. And this idea is called a Roth conversion, which we're going to talk about. And so the idea of the Roth conversion is you take money from this tax-deferred bucket and you move it to the tax-free. Now, if we do that, what happens? Well, we've got to pay our taxes now, right? The question becomes, do we want to pay our taxes right now? No one likes paying taxes. But remember, tax rates are low right now, and they're expected to go up. So would you rather pay them now at a lower rate or later at a higher rate is the idea. And so that's the thing that we have to consider. So here's how I think about a Roth conversion. So I'm from a rural area in just outside of Columbus, Ohio. It's called Carroll, Ohio. And there's a lot of farmland over there. It's a blink and you miss it town, one traffic light, and sometimes it works. And down there, we've got a lot of farmland. And one of my friends down there is a farmer, and he also owns an apple orchard. So I always think about it in this manner. I ask him, would you rather pay tax on the seed that you plant or the harvest that you reap? Obviously, he says the seed, right? Well, this is the same concept with your tax-deferred investment. Would you rather pay the tax on it today, or would you rather let it grow over time and pay it at a higher rate? Because remember, if you have $100,000 today, in 10 years, if you get a 7% rate of return, it's going to double. In 12 years, if you get a 6% rate of return, it will double. So if you have $100,000 today, you get a 6% return, you're going to have $200,000 in 12 years. That's what the Rule of 72 tells us. So my question is, would you rather pay the tax on $100,000 or $200,000? Rather pay the taxes now at lower rates or later rates? That's the idea, or the seed of the harvest. So hopefully this helps you understand the concept of Roth conversions. Very simply, is the idea here. Now, when it comes to Roth conversion, I want to make a few points. Not everyone should do a Roth conversion. Although we've heard another tax planning expert suggest that 85% of retirees should be doing a Roth conversion. And we thought that was a bit extreme. Nothing's 100%. Everyone's situation is different. But when we actually went through our client list to see how many are doing Roth conversions, it was actually pretty close to 85% of our clients are personally doing Roth conversions. Now, we work with a crowd that, specifically has higher amounts in the tax-deferred investments. So for those people it specifically makes sense for, if you're going to have $250,000 to $1 million or more in your tax-deferred investments, those are the people we typically are looking at. Hey, this is probably going to make more sense for you. And so my suggestion is that you've got to look at this. If you haven't done this over the last 5 years, especially with tax rates being low over the last 5 years, you've probably missed out on an opportunity. And so you need to make sure you're looking at this, especially over the next 3 years, because remember, taxes are on sale for the next 3 years until 2026 when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expired. So you want to make sure you're on top of this. Here's another question we get often. Well, Joe, there's all these limits on Roth contributions. I don't know if I can do a conversion. I think there's probably a limit, right? Well, here's the good news. There's no limit on a Roth conversion. If you wanted to convert, you say you had $1 million, you want to convert it all to a Roth, There's nothing stopping you. You can do that, okay? The question becomes, should you do that, right? And so for most of our clients, we do Roth conversions of all different sizes. Some of our clients do it for a few $1,000s. Other our clients do it for $1 million or more. It really depends on your situation and your goals. So there's no hard, fast number of how much you should convert. There's a lot of factors that you need to realize there, like Social Security taxes, Medicare premiums, capital gains, net investment income. All of this stuff plays together. And so you need to look at your situation today, and you need to look at your situation in the future to see where your tax rate will be. And if you expect your tax rate to be about the same or higher, which is the case for most of our clients, a Roth conversion is probably going to make sense to do right now. And so all of those contribution limits, the $6,500 if you're under age 50 that you have to contribute to a Roth, or $75 if you're over age 50 that you can contribute to a Roth, those don't apply for a Roth conversion. On this side, we're talking about a contribution. That's $6,500, $7,500. That's the number I just mentioned. Conversion is a different term, and there's no rules on the conversion. Okay. Now, there is obviously some things you need to be aware of the conversion. I'm making it sound very simple. So just make sure you do your due diligence. Something we always recommend is make sure you get help from a professional on something this difficult. Don't leave this to chance. Make sure you've got the right help. And so to end this Roth conversion conversation, this is one of my favorite pictures here to express a Roth conversion. And this idea here is from Fram Oil Filters. So you may remember this commercial back from the 70s. And he says, hey, would you rather pay me $4 now for a Fram oil filter, or would you rather pay me $200 in the future to fix this issue? And then he says, you can pay me now, or you can pay me later. And then at the end of the commercial, he says, the choice is yours of what you want to do. Sounds like Uncle Sam, right? Sounds like the conversation we're having. So make sure you make that choice to be proactive and decide how are you going to have your retirement look from a tax perspective, but you have to act now.